You might think I'm crazy when I tell you this, but one simple mixture sitting in your kitchen right now has the power to transform your sleep forever. I'm talking about honey and salt. Yes, you heard that right. This isn't some expensive supplement or complicated medical procedure. It's a remedy so simple that when I first heard about it, I actually laughed. But after 40 years as a psychiatrist specializing in sleep disorders, and after watching this method change hundreds of lives including my own, I'm here to tell you that sometimes the most powerful solutions are hiding in plain sight. Hello, I'm Dr. Richard Caldwell. I'm 85 years old, and I've been treating sleep disorders for over decades. I graduated from Johns Hopkins School of Medicine in 1962, completed my psychiatry residency at Massachusetts General Hospital, and spent 35 years as the chief of geriatric psychiatry at Boston Medical Center. I've published over 120 research papers on sleep and aging, lectured at Harvard Medical School for 20 years, and treated over 10,000 patients struggling with insomnia. Even now, at my age, I still see patients 3 days a week at my private practice because I believe that good sleep is the foundation of everything else in life. People often ask me, Dr. Caldwell, what's your secret to staying so sharp and energetic? At 85, my answer is always the same: sleep, good, deep, restorative sleep. But here's what might surprise you. I wasn't always a good sleeper. In fact, for nearly 20 years of my career, I was a walking contradiction. By day, I was helping patients overcome their sleep problems. By night, I was lying awake, staring at the ceiling, dependent on sleeping pills just to get a few hours of rest. If you're watching this video because you're tired of tossing and turning, if you're exhausted from waking up multiple times each night, or if you're concerned about your dependence on sleep medications, then what I'm about to share could change your life. Please stay with me until the end, and if you find this helpful, I'd appreciate it if you could hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I share evidence-based health information every week, and I want to make sure you don't miss anything that could improve your well-being. Let me start by being completely honest with you. At the age of 65, I was a mess. Professionally, I was at the peak of my career. I had just been appointed as department head. I was leading groundbreaking research on sleep and dementia, and I was considered one of the top sleep specialists on the East Coast. But privately, I was falling apart. Every night was a battle. I would lie down at 10 p.m., close my eyes, and then nothing. My mind would start racing. I'd think about patients, research data, hospital politics, my family, my health, everything and nothing all at once. When I finally did fall asleep, usually around 1 or 2 a.m. with the help of medication, I'd wake up at 4 a.m. feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My wife Margaret would find me in my study at 5 a.m., hunched over medical journals, trying to distract myself from the exhaustion. During the day, I'd fight to stay alert during patient consultations. I remember one particularly embarrassing incident where I actually nodded off while a patient was describing their symptoms. Here I was, supposedly an expert in sleep medicine, and I couldn't even stay awake during my own appointments. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was prescribing sleep hygiene techniques and medications to my patients while secretly increasing my own prescription for Ambien. I started with 5 milligrams, then 10 milligrams. Then I was combining it with other medications just to get 4 hours of sleep. The worst part was the brain fog. My memory, which had always been sharp, started failing me. I'd forget patients' names, lose track of conversations, and feel this constant mental cloudiness that no amount of coffee could clear. My family was worried. My children started having those careful conversations about whether I should consider retirement. My wife would check on me multiple times during the night because she was concerned about the combination of medications I was taking. I felt like I was losing myself, one sleepless night at a time. The man who had built his career on understanding sleep was being destroyed by his inability to achieve it. Then, in 2008, something changed my life forever. I was attending the annual conference of the American Geriatric Society in Washington, D.C. After my presentation on sleep disorders in dementia patients, I ran into Dr. James Morrison, one of my professors from medical school. Jim was 91 at the time, but he looked incredible. His eyes were bright, his posture was straight, and he had this energy that I envied. During medical school, he had been known for his unconventional approaches and his interest in traditional remedies. Alongside modern medicine. We sat in the hotel lobby, and I found myself confessing my sleep struggles to him. I was embarrassed, but something about his gentle manner made me open up. I told him about the medications, the brain fog, the exhaustion, everything. He listened without judgment, occasionally nodding with understanding. When I finished, he smiled and reached into his briefcase. He pulled out a small glass jar filled with what looked like crystallized honey, mixed with coarse sea salt. Richard, he said, sometimes the oldest solutions are the best ones. My grandmother taught me this remedy when I was a young doctor struggling with insomnia during my residency. I've been using it for over 60 years, and I've shared it with countless colleagues and patients. It's so simple that most people dismiss it. But I'm telling you, it works. He explained that I should mix 1 teaspoon of raw honey with a pinch of high-quality sea salt in a small glass of warm water, and drink it 30 minutes before bedtime. That was it. No complicated protocols, no expensive supplements, just honey, salt and water. I have to admit, my first thought was skeptical. After all my years of medical training and research, could something so simple really work where powerful pharmaceuticals had failed? But that night, in my hotel room, I decided to try it. I found some honey packets from the hotel breakfast service and used a tiny bit of salt from room service. I mixed them in warm water and drank the mixture while reading. About 20 minutes later, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, a natural drowsiness. Not the heavy, drugged feeling from my medications, but a gentle, peaceful tiredness. I fell asleep within minutes and slept for 7 straight hours. When I woke up, my mind was clearer than it had been in months. I thought it might be a fluke. So I continued the experiment when I returned home, night after night. The results were consistent. I was falling asleep faster, sleeping more deeply, and waking up refreshed. After 2 weeks, I reduced my sleep medication by half. After a month, I cut it in half again. After 3 months, I was completely medication-free for the first time in over 15 years. But as a scientist, I couldn't recommend something based solely on my own experience. So I started carefully introducing this method to some of my most challenging patients, those who had tried everything else without success. The results were remarkable, and I began to understand why this simple remedy was so effective. Let me share some of their stories with you, because I think you'll see yourself in these experiences. The first patient I tried this with was Margaret Thompson, a 72-year-old retired librarian who came to me after battling insomnia for over 30 years. Margaret had been taking sleeping pills since her husband passed away in 1995. She told me she hadn't had a natural night's sleep in decades. She would fall asleep around 11 p.m. with medication, but would wake up every night between 2 and 3 a.m., then lie awake until dawn worrying about everything from her health to her finances to world events. Margaret was intelligent and well-read, and she had tried everything: sleep hygiene, cognitive behavioral therapy, meditation, different medications, even acupuncture. Nothing gave her sustained relief. She came to me as a last resort before considering more aggressive treatments. I explained the honey salt method, and I could see the skepticism in her eyes. She said, "Doctor, I've tried warm milk, chamomile tea, valerian root, and every other natural remedy you can imagine. How could honey and salt be any different?" I encouraged her to try it for just 1 week, alongside her regular medication, and see what happened. 3 days later, she called my office. Excited, she said she had slept through the night for the first time in years. By the end of the first week, she was sleeping 7 hours straight. Over the next month, we gradually reduced her sleep medication, and within 6 weeks, she was medication-free. When I saw her for her 3-month follow-up, she looked 10 years younger. Her energy was back, her mood had improved dramatically, and she told me she felt like herself again for the first time since her husband's death. The second case that really convinced me was Robert Chen, a 68-year-old engineer who had developed severe insomnia after retirement. Robert was a methodical man who had thrived on the structure and mental stimulation of his career. After retiring, he found himself lying awake at night with his mind racing, unable to shut off his thoughts. He described it as having a computer that wouldn't shut down. He would finally fall asleep around 3 a.m., only to wake up at 6 a.m. feeling exhausted and irritable. Robert's insomnia was affecting his marriage and his health. His wife said he had become a different person, anxious, short-tempered, and withdrawn. He had gained weight because he was eating late at night when he couldn't sleep, and he had developed high blood pressure, which his doctor attributed partly to sleep deprivation and stress. When I first met Robert, he was taking 2 different sleep medications and still struggling. I introduced him to the honey salt method, but I also worked with him on creating a new evening routine since his sleep problems were partly related to the lack of structure in retirement. Within the first week, he noticed that his mind felt calmer after drinking the honey salt mixture. By the second week, he was falling asleep by 11 p.m. instead of 3 a.m. The most dramatic change came in his deep sleep quality. He told me that his dreams became more vivid and that he woke up feeling rested. For the first time in 2 years, over the next few months, Robert's entire demeanor changed. His blood pressure normalized, he lost the weight he had gained, and his wife told me that she felt like she had her husband back. He became interested in new hobbies and even started volunteering at a local engineering museum. The transformation was remarkable, and it all started with improving his sleep quality. Another patient who stands out is Dorothy Williams, an 84-year-old former nurse who suffered from frequent nighttime awakenings. Dorothy would fall asleep easily but would wake up every 2 hours throughout the night. Each awakening would last 30 to 45 minutes, during which she would worry about her adult children, her health, or replay conversations from decades past. By morning, she felt like she had barely slept at all. Dorothy was particularly interesting because she had been a night shift nurse for most of her career, and her circadian rhythms had never fully recovered even though she had been retired for 20 rupees. She had tried melatonin supplements, light therapy, and various sleep medications, but nothing helped with the frequent awakenings. She was becoming increasingly depressed and anxious, and her family was concerned about her overall health decline. When I introduced Dorothy to the honey salt method, I also had her track her sleep patterns with a simple diary. Within the first week, she went from waking up 5 or 6 times per night to waking up only twice. By the 4th week, she was sleeping through the night most nights, waking only once if at all. The quality of her sleep improved so dramatically that she started having energy for activities she hadn't enjoyed in years. She rejoined her church choir, started gardening again, and even began helping her neighbor with grocery shopping. What was most remarkable about Dorothy's case was that the improvement seemed to cascade into other areas of her health. Her chronic back pain decreased, her mood lifted significantly, and she reported feeling sharper mentally than she had in years. Her family doctor was amazed by her improvement and asked me about the method she was using. Then there's the case of Michael Rodriguez, a 59-year-old construction foreman who developed sleep problems after a workplace injury forced him into early retirement. Michael had always been a physical person who worked long hours and slept soundly, but after his injury, he found himself lying awake with chronic pain and anxiety about his financial future. He had been prescribed pain medications and sleep aids, but they left him groggy and cloudy-headed during the day. Michael was initially resistant to trying what he called home remedies. He was a practical, no-nonsense person who believed in conventional medicine. But his wife convinced him to give it a try after seeing how much it had helped her sister, who was also one of my patients. The first night he tried the honey salt mixture, he slept for 6 hours straight, the longest stretch of uninterrupted sleep he had had since his injury 6 months earlier. What impressed Michael most was that he woke up feeling alert and clear-headed, unlike with his prescription sleep aids. Over the next month, he was able to reduce his sleep medication significantly. The improved sleep also seemed to help with his pain management and his mood. He started physical therapy again, and eventually was able to return to work part-time in a supervisory role. He often tells people that getting his sleep back gave him his life back. The 5th patient I want to tell you about is Eleanor Foster, a 76-year-old widow who suffered from both insomnia and sleep apnea. Eleanor's case was complex because she had multiple factors affecting her sleep: grief from losing her husband, mild sleep apnea that made her snore and wake up frequently, and anxiety about living alone for the first time in 50 years. She was using a CPAP machine for her sleep apnea, but she still wasn't getting quality sleep. Eleanor was skeptical about trying anything new because she felt overwhelmed by all the medical equipment and medications she was already managing. But she was also desperate for relief. The honey salt method appealed to her because of its simplicity. She could prepare it easily, and it didn't interfere with her CPAP therapy. Within 2 weeks of starting the honey salt routine, Eleanor noticed that she was falling asleep more quickly even with her CPAP mask on, which had always been a challenge. Her sleep study results after 3 months showed significant improvement in her sleep efficiency, and a reduction in the number of times she woke up during the night. More importantly, she reported feeling more energetic and positive during the day. She started socializing again, joined a widow's support group, and even began taking art classes at the local community center. Now, you might be wondering why something so simple could be so effective when powerful medications often fall short. The answer lies in understanding what happens in our bodies and brains when we sleep, and how honey and salt work together to support these natural processes. Let me explain the science behind this method, because once you understand how it works, you'll appreciate why it's so powerful. The first major benefit is that this combination dramatically reduces the time it takes to fall asleep. When you consume natural honey before bed, you're providing your brain with exactly the right type and amount of fuel it needs to transition into sleep mode. Your brain operates on glucose, and honey provides both glucose and fructose in a form that's easily absorbed and utilized. This isn't about creating a sugar rush, quite the opposite. Here's what happens. When you consume honey, it causes a small, controlled rise in insulin levels. This insulin helps the amino acid tryptophan cross the blood-brain barrier more easily. Tryptophan is then converted into serotonin, which makes you feel calm and relaxed. Finally, serotonin is converted into melatonin, your body's natural sleep hormone. This is a much gentler and more natural process than taking synthetic melatonin supplements, because your body is producing exactly the amount it needs at exactly the right time. The salt component stabilizes this process and prevents blood sugar crashes that can wake you up in the middle of the night. Many people don't realize that middle-of-the-night awakenings are often caused by drops in blood sugar that trigger stress hormone release. Your body perceives low blood sugar as an emergency and releases cortisol and adrenaline to wake you up so you can find food. The minerals in high-quality salt help maintain stable blood sugar levels throughout the night. The second major benefit is a significant reduction in middle-of-the-night awakenings. As we age, our cortisol patterns become irregular. Normally, cortisol should be lowest at bedtime and gradually rise toward morning to help us wake up naturally. But in many older adults, cortisol spikes unpredictably during the night, causing sudden awakenings often around 2 or 3 a.m. Salt contains minerals like magnesium, potassium, and trace elements that support healthy adrenal function. The adrenal glands produce cortisol, and when they're supported with proper minerals, they're more likely to maintain healthy circadian rhythms. Additionally, the sodium in salt helps maintain proper fluid balance and supports the nervous system's ability to stay in rest and digest mode rather than fight or flight mode during sleep. I always recommend using high-quality sea salt or Himalayan pink salt rather than regular table salt, because these contain a broader spectrum of minerals. Table salt is primarily sodium chloride with added iodine, but sea salt and Himalayan salt contain dozens of trace minerals that our bodies need for optimal function. The third benefit is a dramatic improvement in deep sleep quality. Deep sleep is when your body does most of its healing and restoration. During deep sleep, your brain clears out metabolic waste products, your immune system regenerates, your muscles repair themselves, and your memories are consolidated. As we age, we spend less and less time in deep sleep, which is one reason why older adults often feel tired even after sleeping for 8 hours. The honey-salt combination supports deep sleep by promoting the production of GABA, which is your brain's main calming neurotransmitter. GABA essentially acts like the brain's brake pedal, slowing down mental activity and allowing you to enter deeper stages of sleep. Many people who try this method report that their dreams become more vivid and that they wake up feeling more refreshed, both of which are signs of improved deep sleep quality. Additionally, the stable blood sugar provided by this combination prevents the micro-awakenings that can fragment your sleep without you even realizing it. You might think you slept through the night, but if your blood sugar was fluctuating, your brain may have briefly awakened dozens of times, preventing you from getting truly restorative sleep. The fourth benefit, which surprises many people, is an improvement in snoring and mild sleep apnea symptoms. This happens because the honey-salt combination helps stabilize your autonomic nervous system, the part of your nervous system that controls unconscious functions like breathing and heart rate. When your nervous system is more balanced, the muscles in your throat and airway are more likely to maintain proper tone during sleep. Chronic inflammation can also contribute to airway restriction and snoring. Honey has natural anti-inflammatory properties, and the minerals in salt support cellular function throughout the body. Together, they can help reduce the inflammation that contributes to airway problems during sleep. Of course, this method isn't a cure for severe sleep apnea, but many of my patients have noticed improvements in their snoring and sleep study results. The fifth and perhaps most important benefit is that better sleep transforms your entire life. Sleep affects every system in your body: your immune function, your hormone production, your metabolism, your cardiovascular health, your mental clarity, and your emotional stability. When you consistently get high-quality sleep, you're giving your body the foundation it needs to function optimally in every area. I've seen patients experience improvements in chronic pain, depression, anxiety, blood pressure, blood sugar control, memory, concentration, and overall energy levels simply by improving their sleep quality with this method. Sleep is truly the ultimate preventive medicine, and it's available to everyone. Now, let me give you the exact protocol I use with my patients, along with important safety considerations. The basic recipe is simple. Mix 1 teaspoon of raw, unprocessed honey with a pinch of high-quality sea salt or Himalayan pink salt and 4 to 6 ounces of warm water. The water should be warm enough to dissolve the honey easily, but not so hot that it destroys the beneficial enzymes in the honey. Drink this mixture 30 to 45 minutes before your intended bedtime. The timing is important because you want to give your body enough time to process the honey and begin producing those sleepy neurotransmitters, but not so much time that the effect wears off before you get into bed. I usually recommend that patients establish a consistent bedtime routine around this drink, perhaps reading a book, doing some gentle stretching, or practicing relaxation breathing while the mixture takes effect. For the honey, quality matters tremendously. Look for raw, unprocessed honey that hasn't been heated or filtered. This type of honey retains all the beneficial enzymes, antioxidants, and trace nutrients that make it so effective for sleep. Local honey is often your best choice because it's more likely to be minimally processed. Avoid commercial honey that's been pasteurized or contains added corn syrup, as these won't have the same beneficial effects. For the salt, I prefer either sea salt or Himalayan pink salt because they contain trace minerals that table salt lacks. You only need a small pinch, about 1/8 teaspoon or even less. Some people are concerned about sodium intake, but this amount is minimal, and the benefits usually far outweigh any concerns for most people. However, there are important safety considerations and contraindications you need to be aware of. If you have diabetes, you should consult with your doctor before trying this method because honey will affect your blood sugar levels. Some diabetic patients can use this method successfully by reducing the honey to half a teaspoon and monitoring their blood sugar carefully, but this should always be done under medical supervision. If you have high blood pressure or heart disease, you should be cautious about the salt component. While the amount is small, some people are very sodium sensitive. You might try the method with just honey first, or use an even smaller amount of salt and monitor your blood pressure closely. Again, check with your doctor before making any changes to your routine. People with kidney disease need to be especially careful about both sodium and blood sugar, so this method may not be appropriate for everyone with kidney problems. Those taking diuretics or other medications that affect electrolyte balance should also consult their healthcare provider first. If you're currently taking sleep medications, please don't stop them abruptly. This method works well as a complement to medication initially, and then you can work with your doctor to gradually reduce your medication dosage. As your natural sleep improves, sudden discontinuation of sleep medications can be dangerous and can cause rebound insomnia. For people with severe allergies, particularly bee allergies, honey may not be safe. If you're allergic to honey, you could try the method with just salt and see if you get some benefit, though it won't be as effective. Some people find that drinking fluids before bed increases nighttime bathroom trips. If this is a concern for you, you can reduce the amount of water or try taking the mixture earlier in the evening. The key is finding what works for your individual situation. Beyond the honey-salt mixture itself, there are several lifestyle factors that will enhance its effectiveness. Your sleep environment plays a crucial role in sleep quality. Your bedroom should be cool, ideally between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Your room should be as dark as possible. Consider blackout curtains or an eye mask if necessary. Even small amounts of light can interfere with melatonin production. Electronic devices are one of the biggest sleep disruptors in our modern world. The blue light from smartphones, tablets, televisions, and computers suppresses melatonin production and keeps your brain in an alert state. I recommend turning off all screens at least 1 hour before bedtime. If you must use devices in the evening, use blue light filtering glasses or install blue light filtering software. Your mattress and pillows should be comfortable and supportive. An old, sagging mattress or pillows that don't support your neck properly can cause discomfort that fragments your sleep throughout the night. Generally, mattresses should be replaced every 7 to 10 years, and pillows should be replaced every 1 to 2 years. Regular exercise is crucial for good sleep, but timing matters. Vigorous exercise within 3 to 4 hours of bedtime can be stimulating and make it harder to fall asleep. However, gentle activities like yoga, stretching, or a leisurely walk can actually promote better sleep. I often recommend that patients do some light stretching or relaxation exercises after taking their honey salt mixture. Your daily light exposure also affects your sleep quality. Getting bright light, preferably sunlight, in the morning helps regulate your circadian rhythms and makes it easier to fall asleep at night. Try to spend at least 15 to 30 minutes outside in the morning, or sit by a bright window if outdoor time isn't possible. Caffeine has a much longer effect than most people realize. The half-life of caffeine is 5 to 7 hours, which means that if you drink coffee at 2 p.m., you still have significant amounts of caffeine in your system at bedtime. I generally recommend avoiding caffeine after noon if you have sleep problems, and some sensitive individuals may need to avoid it even earlier. Alcohol is another common sleep disruptor. While it might make you feel drowsy initially, alcohol actually fragments your sleep and prevents you from getting deep, restorative sleep. It also causes early morning awakenings, as your body metabolizes the alcohol. If you choose to drink alcohol, try to finish drinking at least 3 to 4 hours before bedtime. Large meals close to bedtime can interfere with sleep because your body is busy digesting food when it should be winding down. Try to finish eating at least 2 to 3 hours before bed if you're hungry before bedtime. A small snack that combines protein and complex carbohydrates can actually promote sleep. Things like a small handful of nuts or a piece of whole grain toast with a little almond butter. Stress and anxiety are major contributors to insomnia, and addressing these issues is often essential for long-term sleep improvement. The honey salt method can help calm your nervous system, but you may also benefit from stress reduction techniques like meditation, deep breathing exercises, progressive muscle relaxation, or journaling. Many of my patients find it helpful to keep a worry journal by their bedside. If anxious thoughts start racing when they lie down, they write them down with the promise to address them the next day. This simple technique helps externalize worries and prevents them from cycling through your mind all night. Creating a consistent bedtime routine signals to your body that it's time to sleep. Your routine might include taking your honey salt mixture, reading for 15 to 20 minutes, doing some gentle stretches, or practicing relaxation techniques. The key is consistency, doing the same things in the same order. Every night helps train your brain to recognize sleep cues. It's also important to use your bedroom only for sleep and intimacy. Working, watching TV, or doing other activities in bed can create mental associations that make it harder to fall asleep when you lie down. If you can't fall asleep within 20 minutes, get up and do a quiet, relaxing activity until you feel sleepy, then return to bed. Now, I want to address some common questions and concerns that patients often have about this method. First, many people wonder how long it takes to see results. This varies significantly from person to person. Some people notice improvements the very first night, while others may need to use the method consistently for several weeks before seeing significant changes. In my experience, most people notice some improvement within the first week, with more substantial changes occurring over the first month. Remember, if you've had sleep problems for months or years, it may take time for your body to reset its natural rhythms. Be patient with the process and consistent with the method. Some people worry about the sugar content in honey, especially if they're trying to lose weight or manage diabetes. While honey does contain natural sugars, the amount used in this method is quite small, about 21 calories worth. This is much less sugar than you'd get from a piece of fruit or a glass of juice. The key is that you're consuming it at a time when your body can use it to promote sleep rather than storing it as fat. Others are concerned about the sodium in salt, particularly if they have high blood pressure. The amount of salt used is very small, less than you'd get from a single pretzel or cracker. However, if you have severe sodium restrictions, you should definitely check with your doctor first, or try the method with just honey to start. A few patients have asked whether they can modify the recipe by adding other ingredients like lemon, ginger, or herbs. While these additions aren't harmful, I generally recommend keeping the mixture simple, at least initially. Once you've established that the basic method works for you, you can experiment with small additions if you'd like. Some people wonder if they can use artificial sweeteners instead of honey, or table salt instead of sea salt. The answer is that these substitutions won't be as effective. Honey's specific combination of glucose and fructose, along with its natural enzymes and trace nutrients, is what makes it so effective for sleep. Artificial sweeteners don't provide the same blood sugar stabilizing effects, and they may actually be stimulating for some people. Similarly, table salt lacks the trace minerals that make sea salt and Himalayan salt beneficial for nervous system function. These substitutions might provide some benefit, but you won't get the full effect of the method. I also want to emphasize that this method works best as part of an overall healthy lifestyle. While the honey salt mixture can significantly improve your sleep quality, it's not a magic bullet that will overcome the effects of excessive caffeine, chronic stress, a poor sleep environment, or underlying medical conditions that affect sleep. If you've been struggling with severe insomnia for months or years, or if you have symptoms like loud snoring, gasping during sleep, or excessive daytime sleepiness, you should see a sleep specialist for a comprehensive evaluation. Sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, and other medical sleep disorders require specific treatments beyond what lifestyle changes alone can provide. However, even if you do have a medical sleep disorder, improving your sleep hygiene and using methods like the honey salt mixture can enhance the effectiveness of other treatments. Many of my patients use this method successfully alongside CPAP therapy for sleep apnea. or in combination with medications for other sleep disorders. As I near the end of our time together, I want to share what I believe is the most important message. You are not powerless over your sleep problems. I know how frustrating and exhausting chronic insomnia can be. I know the desperation of lying awake night after night, watching the clock, dreading another day of fatigue. I know the concern of family members who watch you struggle. I know the disappointment of trying method after method with little success. But I also know that change is possible, often in ways that surprise us. Sometimes the most powerful solutions are the simplest ones. The honey-salt method isn't a cure-all, but it's a tool that can help restore your body's natural ability to achieve deep, restorative sleep. It works with your physiology rather than against it, supporting the processes that evolution designed to help us rest and heal. The patients I've shared with you today, Margaret, Robert, Dorothy, Michael, and Eleanor, all thought their sleep problems were permanent. They had tried multiple approaches and had begun to accept that poor sleep was just part of aging, or their particular circumstances. But within weeks of starting this simple method, combined with attention to their overall sleep hygiene, they experienced transformations that surprised even me. At 85 years old, I sleep better now than I did at 65. I wake up refreshed, my mind is clear, and I have energy for the things that matter to me: my patients, my family, my research, and my own continued learning. This isn't because I have special access to expensive treatments or cutting-edge medications. It's because I learned to work with my body's natural wisdom rather than fighting against it. Your journey to better sleep starts tonight. Mix 1 teaspoon of raw honey with a pinch of high-quality salt and warm water. Drink it 30 minutes before bed. Turn off your electronic devices, create a peaceful environment, and give your body the signal that it's time to rest. Be patient with yourself and consistent with the method. Track your progress in a simple sleep diary so you can see the changes as they occur. Remember, good sleep isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for optimal health and well-being. When you sleep well, you're investing in your immune system, your mental clarity, your emotional stability, your physical health, and your overall quality of life. You're also setting an example for your family and friends that taking care of your health is a priority. If you found this information helpful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Share it with anyone you know who struggles with sleep problems. Sometimes the simple act of sharing knowledge can change someone's life. I read every comment, so please let me know about your experiences with this method or any questions you might have. In my next video, I'll be discussing the 3 most important things you should do immediately upon waking to set yourself up for energy and vitality throughout the day. These morning practices work synergistically with good sleep to create a foundation for optimal health at any age. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Sweet dreams, and here's to your best sleep yet. Remember, you're never too old to make positive changes in your health, and sometimes the most profound transformations come from the simplest steps. Tonight, give yourself the gift of natural, restorative sleep. Your future self will thank you for it.